You've probably heard ghost stories before, right? Whispers in old houses, things that go bump in the night.
Sure, they're everywhere.
But, few stories in American folklore are quite as detailed or as debated and just persistently chilling as the legend of the Bell Witch.
hmm Often called America's greatest ghost story, actually.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating, I think, is how deep this tale runs.
Yeah, it's woven right into the history of the 19th century American South, specifically what's now Adams, Tennessee.
Right. A phenomenon that supposedly terrorized this one family, the Bells, and, well, it still sparks debate over 200 years later.
It really does. The arguments haven't stopped.
Absolutely. So today we're doing a deep dive into this legend. We've gathered a whole stack of sources for you.
Yeah, everything from historical accounts to old newspaper clippings.
Right. To skeptical evaluations and even modern analyses.
hmm
Our mission really is to unpack that core legend, explore the early writings that helped it spread.
And we need to look at Martin Van Buren Ingram's authenticated history. That's a key piece.
Definitely. Then weigh the skepticism, the alternative theories.
And finally, see how this story just keeps living on in our culture.
Exactly. We want to pull out the crucial nuggets of knowledge so you can walk away really knowing the ins and outs of this pretty extraordinary piece of American folklore.
So to understand its power, we have to start at the source,
Yeah.
right? The beginning.
Let's do it. Where does it start?
It all begins apparently on a pretty successful happy farm back in 1817
Okay.
with John Bell Sr. and his family. They lived along the Red River in Robertson County, Tennessee.
And things were good before all this started.
Yeah, by all accounts, quite prosperous.
Oh.
Life was pretty normal until it wasn't.
So this seemingly idyllic farm life,
Yeah.
what was the very first sign, the first hint that something was, wrong?
Well, it started kind of subtly. John Bell was out inspecting his cornfield,
Okay.
and he encounters this strange animal. Like, it resembled a dog, but it had the head of a rabbit.
A dog with a rabbit's head? That's
Yeah.
weird.
Very weird. He apparently shot at it, but poof, it just vanished.
Vanished. Okay. And that wasn't all?
No, and long after that, the family started hearing these noises.
Mhm.
Mysterious, like beating sounds on the outside walls of their log house.
Just random voices.
At first. But they escalated. They got more frequent, louder, harder each night.
Did they try to find out what it was?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
John and his son searched all around, night after night. Found nothing. No explanation.
And then it moved inside, affecting the kids.
Exactly. The children started complaining. Said it felt like rats gnawing at their bedposts. Bed covers getting pulled off them, pillows chucked onto the floor. All by something they couldn't see.
That's terrifying for kids. So it's escalating. Did this entity seem to pick on anyone specific?
It did, and that's where it gets particularly nasty. It started to focus its torment, especially on Betsy Bell.
John's youngest daughter.
That's the one. She suffered terribly. Hair pulling, constant slaps, pinches.
Oh my God.
Yeah, apparently often leaving visible welts, even red handprints on her face and body.
That's physical assault. And what about John Bell Sr.? Did anything happen to him?
He started experiencing this really strange affliction. It began with, like, a paralysis in his mouth.
Paralysis?
Yeah, couldn't speak properly sometimes. And it got worse. Muscle twitches, bad migraines, tingling sensations, fatigue, even seizures.
Wow. So the family must have been desperate. They'd tried to keep it secret, right?
They had. John Bell made them vow secrecy. But it got too bad.
So he broke his silence.
He did. He confided in his closest friend, James Johnston, told him about this family trouble.
And Johnston, was he a believer?
Not at first. He was skeptical, naturally. But he agreed to spend the night.
What happened?
He experienced the exact same things. Woken up, bed covers yanked off, felt himself being slapped by an invisible hand.
So that changed his mind pretty quick, I bet.
Instantly. The story goes he actually cried out, "In the name of the Lord, who are you and what do you want?"
Powerful reaction.
And the next morning, his conclusion was stark. He told John Bell it was a spirit, just like in the Bible.
A spirit. So, okay, it's not just physical torment anymore. It starts to communicate.
It does, gradually. At first, it was just faint whispers, hard to make out,
Uh-huh.
but then the voice became loud, clear, unmistakable.
And did it answer Johnston's question? What did it say it was?
Its first recorded response, according to the accounts, was chillingly direct. "I am a spirit. I was once very happy, but have been disturbed."
Disturbed. Okay. Did it say how it was disturbed? Or where it came from?
Well, that's where things get murky. The explanations were diverse.
Yeah.
sometimes contradictory even.
Like what?
Sometimes the entity, the spirit, claimed its origin was tied to the disturbance of a Native American burial mound on the Bell property.
Oh, interesting. Did they check that out?
They did, actually. John Bell's son Drew and a neighbor, Bennett Porter, went digging, looking for buried treasure based on what the spirit said. Found nothing.
So that was one theory. Any others?
Yeah, other times the entity identified itself as Kate.
Kate. Any reason?
Apparently, it claimed to be the witch of a local woman, Kate Batts.
Oh.
So, Old Kate Batts Witch. That name stuck. The Bell Witch often gets called Kate.
Right, Kate. So whether it was a disturbed spirit or Kate Batts' witch, it showed some pretty incredible abilities, didn't it? Beyond just slapping people.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is where the legend gets really wild. Clairvoyance was one reported ability.
Knowing things it shouldn't.
Exactly. And superhuman speed, or maybe being in multiple places at once.
Like teleporting.
Sort of. The most famous example is probably the sermons.
The sermons. Tell me about that.
It supposedly repeated, word for word, 2 different sermons that were being delivered at the exact same time, but 13 miles apart.
Whoa. Okay, that's specific. How could anyone even verify that?
Good question. That's part of the legend's power, these unverifiable but incredibly detailed claims. It also apparently knew the Bible inside and out.
Really?
Yeah, it supposedly enjoyed getting into religious arguments with people. And it wasn't confined to the Bell House either.
It traveled.
It seemed to. It would share gossip about things happening miles away, and sometimes visit other homes if people asked about it. It suggested this pervasive, almost all-knowing presence.
An invisible traveling gossip monger who
Yeah.
likes Bible debates and can repeat sermons verbatim. Okay.
It's a lot to take in.
No kidding. I imagine people must have tried to test it, right? To catch it out.
They definitely did. James Johnston's son, John Johnson Jr., came up with a clever test.
What did he do?
He asked the witch, challenging it, what his Dutch step-grandmother back in North Carolina used to say to the slaves if they did something wrong.
Okay, specific family knowledge. And
The witch supposedly replied immediately, in the grandmother's distinct accent, "Hut-tut, what has happened now?"
wow, in the accent too.
That's the story. There's another famous test involving an Englishman who visited.
What happened with him?
He was skeptical, naturally. The witch apparently mimicked the voices of his parents back in England perfectly.
Okay, creepy.
Then, it supposedly visited his family in England overnight and woke the man up back in Tennessee with their worried voices calling to him.
Visited England overnight.
Supposedly. The story goes the man was terrified, apologized for doubting, and left pretty quickly.
I bet he did. It's fascinating how specific these accounts are, but you also mentioned it had a contradictory nature. It wasn't all bad.
Not entirely, which makes it even stranger. While it was incredibly malevolent towards John Bell Sr. and Betsy,
Right.
it showed this surprising kindness towards Lucy Bell, John's wife.
Really? How so?
It reportedly called her the most perfect woman to walk the earth, gave her gifts of fresh fruit, sang hymns to her.
That's bizarre. Fruit and hymns for mom, slaps and seizures for dad and Betsy.
Exactly. It also showed respect towards John Bell Jr., the oldest son. It's this Jekyll and Hyde quality that adds another layer of mystery.
But that kindness definitely didn't extend to John Sr. The primary target seemed to be him. What was the climax of all this? Especially concerning old Jack Bell, as the witch called him.
Well, the climax really centers on John Bell Sr.'s deteriorating health. By the fall of 1820, he was basically confined to the house.
The illness was getting worse.
Much worse. And the witch didn't let up. It kept tormenting him. Reports say it would pull his shoes off when he tried to walk, slap his face right after he had seizures.
Just relentless cruelty.
And its voice, this shrill, cursing voice, could apparently be heard all over the farm just railing against old Jack Bell.
Horrifying. And then came his death, December 1820.
Yes, December 20th, 1820. He slipped into a coma and didn't wake up.
And there was something suspicious found, wasn't there? A vial.
That's right. The family found this mysterious vial containing a dark, strange liquid in the kitchen cupboard shortly after he became unresponsive or died.
What did they do with it?
John Bell Jr., being cautious, tested just a couple of drops on the tongue of the family cat. The cat died almost instantly.
Oh my god. Poison.
Seems likely. And then, chillingly, the witch's voice supposedly bragged.
What did it say?
It confessed. "I gave old Jack a big dose of that last night, which fixed him."
It admitted to poisoning him.
That's the claim. And when John Jr., horrified, threw the vial into the fireplace,
Yes.
it reportedly exploded into a bright blue flame and shot straight up the chimney.
A blue flame. That's Almost theatrically evil, like something out of a dark fairy tale.
It's one of the most enduring images from the legend. It really cemented the idea of the witch's deadly intent.
And the funeral? Was that the end of it?
Not quite. The funeral itself was apparently huge, the largest ever seen in Robertson County at the time.
A testament to his standing, despite the troubles.
But even then, the witch wasn't silent. It reportedly interrupted the mourners
How?
by laughing loudly and singing raucous drinking songs throughout the service.
No, during the funeral.
Yep, didn't stop until the very last mourner had left the graveside. Just pure, overt malice.
Unbelievable. Utterly ruthless. So with John Bell Sr. gone, did the witch just leave, or did its focus shift?
It definitely shifted. Its purpose regarding John Sr. seemed fulfilled, but it wasn't done yet. It turned its fury towards Betsy Bell's engagement.
She was engaged. To whom?
To a young man named Joshua Gardner. And the entity Kate was furious about it.
Why? Did it give a reason?
It just repeatedly ordered Betsy not to marry him. It seemed obsessed with preventing the marriage.
How did it try to stop them?
Constant harassment. Whenever Betsy and Joshua tried to spend time together down by the river, out in the fields, even near the local cave, the entity would torment them. Nagging, interfering.
It must have put incredible strain on them.
Immense pressure, especially on Betsy, who was already traumatized.
So what happened? Did they stay together?
No. Under all that pressure, Betsy finally broke off the engagement. It happened on Easter Monday of 1821.
Wow. So the witch got its way.
It seems so. And interestingly, after that, the entity's presence faded dramatically, became almost non-existent.
Like its job was done.
Exactly. As if breaking the engagement was its final goal after John Sr.'s death. It reportedly visited Lucy Bell, John's widow, one last time.
To say what?
To announce it was leaving, but
Yeah.
it promised to return.
Oh, when?
In 7 years.
7 years. Okay.
Okay.
Did it come back in 1828?
According to the legend, yes, it did return as promised.
Mm-hmm.
Right on schedule in 1828.
Who did it focus on this time? Betsy again?
No, this time it mainly focused on John Bell Jr., the son who'd thrown the vial in the fire.
Interesting. What were their interactions like? More torment?
Apparently not.
Yeah.
It was different this time. They reportedly had these extensive conversations over 3 days.
Conversations. About what?
Really deep topics, apparently. The origin of life, the rise and fall of civilizations, the nature of Christianity, the need for a big spiritual reawakening.
Whoa. From tormentor to philosopher.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
It also made predictions.
Predictions, like prophecies.
Yeah. Reportedly, it predicted the American Civil War, which is still, over 30 years away. That's the claim. Along with other major future events. Though the accounts admit some of its predictions didn't pan out.
So, a mixed record on the prophecy front. This return adds a whole other dimension, though.
It really does. Gives the entity this weird, almost prophetic philosophical side.
And after these chats, did it leave again?
Yes. After the 3 days, the witch bade farewell to John Jr.
Another promise to return?
One more. It promised to visit John Bell's most direct descendant in exactly 107 years.
107 years? That's oddly specific, which would make it 1935.
Precisely. 1935. Which brings us to a really important point.
Which is?
How did this story, initially confined to one family's terrifying experience, start getting written down and spread to a wider audience? How did it become a legend?
Right. Good question. What are the earliest written mentions we have?
Well, one of the very first seems to be from Captain John R. Bell's journal. No relation, different Bell.
Okay. When was this?
This was during the Long Bell expedition in 1820, so right when the haunting was peaking.
And what did he write?
He noted a singular circumstance he heard about in Robertson County, Tennessee. About a young girl accompanied by a strange voice.
Betsy.
Sounds like it. He mentioned that thousands of people were visiting the area because of it, and that there was already suspicion of ventriloquism.
Ventriloquism. So that explanation was there right from the start.
Seems so. Then, much later, in 1856, an article pops up.
Where?
It appeared in the New England Farmer and the Green Mountain Freeman, but it was attributed to the widely read Saturday Evening Post.
Okay, a major publication. What did it say about the Tennessee ghost?
It detailed the Bell ghost, as it called it. Said the voice only spoke when the lights were out, which attracted huge interest.
And did it offer an explanation?
It did, and it was pretty controversial. It flat out claimed Betsy Bell used ventriloquism.
Why?
To try and scare Joshua Gardner into marrying her, basically. And the article said the whole thing stopped when they didn't get married.
Wow, that paints Betsy in a really bad light. Was that claim ever challenged?
It was, quite strongly, by Martin V. Ingram, the author we mentioned earlier.
Ah, Ingram again. What did he say?
Years later, Ingram wrote in his own book that the Saturday Evening Post had actually retracted that accusation.
Did they?
Well, Ingram claimed they did. He argued Betsy was far too young and innocent for that kind of deception, and more importantly, she was the greatest sufferer from the whole ordeal, not the perpetrator.
Okay, so Ingram defended her. That retraction, or the claim of one, is pretty significant.
Hugely significant for shaping the narrative away from Betsy being a hoaxer.
So, besides these early articles, how else did the legend start weaving itself into the local community? Did it come up in other situations?
Oh, definitely. It started to permeate local events, even legal cases.
Like what?
There was a trial in 1868, the Clenard and Burgess trial. An article called it Witchcraft and Murder.
Sounds dramatic.
It was. A man named Smith, involved with the defendants, had claimed occult powers and was later murdered.
Okay. And the Bell Witch connection?
A key witness, Lucinda Rawls, who was actually a close friend of Betsy Bell in her later years, testified that the Bell Witch legend had become a great scapegoat in the area.
A scapegoat, meaning people blamed strange things on it.
Exactly. She pointed to Smith's murder as proof of this kind of thinking. And apparently the defense lawyers even used the Bell Witch story as an analogy in court.
Wow, so it was already part of the local legal and social vocabulary?
Absolutely, and it didn't stop there. Jump forward to 1880, Springfield, Tennessee.
What happened there?
A haunted house incident. Mysterious knocking sounds under the floor drew hundreds of visitors.
And the Bell Witch link?
A journalist covering the Springfield events explicitly mentioned the Bell Witch legend, drawing a direct comparison.
Interesting. Whose house was it?
It belonged to a Dr. John W. Knuckles. His wife, Laura, was actually accused of faking the noises with an iron ball.
Another accusation of faking. Did that end badly too?
It did. Led to big domestic problems, separation, and eventually Dr. Knuckles was murdered by his brother-in-law after an argument. And guess what was reportedly part of the argument?
Let me guess.
Ghosts. Ghosts. It just shows how potent and, frankly, dangerous these beliefs could be, and how readily the Bell Witch story came to mind.
So, by the time of the Nashville Centennial Exposition, around 1880, maybe 1900, the legend was well established enough to be included there.
Yes, an anonymous account of the Bell Witch was featured, citing various local sources.
Did this account add anything new to the story?
It added some vivid, almost folkloric details. It mentioned the disturbance of Native American skull bones on the property again.
Right, the burial mound theory.
And it described the witch speaking multiple languages, shape-shifting into animals, the rabbit again, but also a bear, a black dog.
The black dog motif appears.
Imitating animal sounds and claiming to be just one of 7 spirits.
7 spirits. Did they have names?
This account listed names like Free Waters, Tynuprity, and Black Dog. Later, Ingram's book would mention a whole witch family, including Black Dog as the leader, plus mathematics, typography, and Jerusalem.
Mathematics. That's an unusual name for a spirit.
Isn't it? It shows how the legend was growing, accumulating these increasingly strange details.
Even mainstream historical accounts started to include it, right? Like Goodspeed's History of Tennessee.
Yes, in 1886. Goodspeed's included a concise summary. It acknowledged the widespread interest.
What details did it include?
It described the spirit as female, invisible, able to talk, and even shake hands.
Shake hands. An invisible handshake.
Apparently. And it performed wonderful freaks to annoy the family, taking sugar, spilling milk, pulling off quilts. Basic poltergeist stuff.
But what was the conclusion? That's the really interesting part.
The conclusion was pretty stunning for a history book. It stated, quote, that all this actually occurred will not be disputed, nor will a rational explanation be attempted.
Wow. Will not be disputed. That's incredible.
It really is. It tells you just how deeply ingrained the story was by then. It was being presented almost as accepted, albeit inexplicable fact.
Okay, so the legend is solidifying. Then the 1890s hit, and there seems to be another burst of activity, more reports.
Yeah, a definite resurgence. Reports came in from Hopkinsville, Kentucky, just over the state line.
What kind of reports?
Coal mysteriously falling from the ceiling in a prominent minister's house, and folks immediately started invoking the Bell Witches.
Blaming it on the Bell Witch phenomena.
Exactly. Back in Adams Station, Tennessee, things got even weirder. Mr. Holloway claimed he saw 2 women just vanish into thin air.
Vanish.
And a Mr. Rowland reported his sack of corn kept falling off his horse for no reason. Then it supposedly floated 20 yards through the air.
Floated.
While a voice said, "You won't touch this sack anymore."
Okay, now we're getting into some really out there territory. Levitating corn sacks.
It gets wilder. There was one report described as having a Mulhattan-ish flavor. Mulhattan was a known hoaxer at the time.
Ah, so suggesting it might be fake.
Right. But the story itself involved a dog fighting an invisible force, fire spreading unnaturally fast like a cyclone, a man feeling something jump onto his back.
Yikes.
Another account mentioned a strange bird disappearing, replaced instantly by a rabbit. And then, maybe the oddest bit.
Go on.
A half-clothed black man with only one eye allegedly appeared and directed someone to dig for a buried kettle turned upside down.
Did they find it?
They supposedly found it, but couldn't dig it out because the hole kept magically refilling with dirt.
Okay. These 1890s accounts feel like the legend is really snowballing, incorporating all sorts of high strangeness.
Absolutely. It's becoming a magnet for any local oddity or unexplained event. Which brings us back to the key figure who tried to synthesize all this.
Martin Van D. Ingram.
Martin Van Buren Ingram, born 1832, died 1909. He's a Civil War veteran, later a newspaper editor.
Did he have experience in publishing before tackling the Bell Witch?
No, apparently started his publishing career pretty green. But folks described him as having strong integrity, very hardworking.
And he became deeply interested in the Bell Witch. What did he do about it?
He decided to write the definitive history. Around 1892, he started traveling, interviewing people connected to the story or the area.
Who did he talk to? Any descendants?
He talked to quite a few people, including an 85-year-old woman named Mahala Darden and, significantly, Ibby Gunn.
Who was she?
She was the daughter of Uncle Zeke, an enslaved man who had belonged to the Bell family or their neighbors during the haunting. Ibby identified the witch specifically as an Indian spirit.
An Indian spirit. Interesting perspective. So Ingram gathers these interviews.
And sets out to publish his book, An Authenticated History of the Famous Bell Witch. But even getting it printed wasn't straightforward.
What happened? More weirdness.
According to the story, yes. His publisher in Clarksville, a man named W.P. Titus, supposedly started experiencing bizarre phenomena right there in the print shop.
Like what?
Maniacal singing, disembodied laughter, prayers, moaning, clapping sounds, the roof rattling violently.
Seriously? In the print shop?
So the story goes. It apparently got so bad the printers refused to work, just evacuated the building. This supposedly delayed the book's release until May 1894.
Whether true or not, that story certainly adds to the mystique of the book itself, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It framed the book as being so powerful, so authentic, that supernatural forces tried to stop its publication. Great marketing, intentional or not.
So what was the core premise of Ingram's book? What made it seem so authenticated?
The key was a letter Ingram included, supposedly from J. Allen Bell, who was John Bell Sr.'s grandson.
Okay, a family member. What did the letter say?
It claimed the Bell family had possessed a secret manuscript all along, written by Richard Williams Bell, one of John Sr.'s sons who lived through the haunting.
A first-hand account.
Supposedly. The letter stated the family deliberately withheld this manuscript until the last immediate family member of John Bell Sr. passed away, which happened in 1890.
Why withhold it?
They felt it was finally time to release the whole story to the world, mainly to correct all the rumors and misconceptions that had grown over the decades.
And this manuscript forms part of Ingram's book.
Yes, Richard Williams Bell's alleged 90-page account makes up Chapter 8, titled Our Family Trouble.
Wow. So Ingram presented his book as finally revealing the hidden true story from the Bell family itself.
Exactly. That claim of an authentic, suppressed family manuscript was crucial. It gave the book immense authority and made it the go-to source for the Bell Witch story for basically the next century.
It shaped everything that came after, really.
Pretty much. It took the story from being somewhat scattered folklore and cemented a specific, detailed narrative.
And maybe the most famous part of that narrative, heavily popularized by Ingram, involves a certain future president.
Ah, yes. The Andrew Jackson story.
Tell us about that. Where does it appear in Ingram's book?
It's in Chapter 11, presented as a letter Ingram received from a man named Thomas L. Yancey.
And it describes a visit by Andrew Jackson. When?
Supposedly in 1819, before he was president, still General Jackson. He heard about the strange happenings at the Bell Farm and decided to go see for himself, bringing along an entourage.
Intrigued, huh? So what happened on this visit?
Well, the most famous incident involves Jackson's wagon.
The wagon.
As they approached the Bell property, Jackson's heavy wagon suddenly stopped dead. Couldn't be moved. The horses strained, the men pushed. Nothing. Stuffed fast.
For no reason.
For no apparent reason. After struggling for a while, Jackson supposedly exclaimed, "By the eternal boys, it is the witch."
Classic Jackson. And did the witch respond?
Instantly, according to the story, a strange, metallic-sounding voice replied out of thin air. "All right, General, let the wagon move on. I will see you again tonight."
And the wagon moved.
Immediately rolled free, just like that.
Okay, that's quite an entrance. What happened later that night?
Well, Jackson had brought along a man who fancied himself a witch slayer, someone who claimed he has special methods to deal with spirits.
A professional Ghostbuster 1819 style.
Pretty much. This guy was apparently boasting about his skills, maybe had a special pistol or charm.
And the witch wasn't impressed.
Not at all. Jackson, apparently getting tired of the guy's bragging, supposedly muttered something like, "By the Eternals, I do wish the thing would come. I want to see him run."
Be careful what you wish for, General.
Exactly. Moments later, the invisible entity allegedly attacked the witch slayer violently, beat him up, dragged him out the door, supposedly pulled him by the nose.
Pulled him by the nose. Ouch! And Jackson's reaction to this chaos.
Pure delight, according to the tale. He supposedly roared with laughter and exclaimed, "By the Eternal, boys, I never saw so much fun in all my life. This beats fighting the British."
That sounds exactly like something Andrew Jackson would say.
Doesn't it? The whole anecdote is perfectly tailored to his known personality.
So after all that fun, did Jackson stick around?
Nope. His men were thoroughly spooked, wondering who the witch might target next. They convinced the general it was time to leave.
When did they go?
First thing the next morning. Jackson reportedly declared as they left that he'd rather fight the British at New Orleans all over again than face the Bell Witch.
Wow. High praise for the witch's scariness coming from Old Hickory.
Indeed. Now, whether any of this Jackson story actually happened is highly debatable, historically speaking.
Right, there's no other corroborating evidence for it, is there?
None whatsoever in Jackson's own writings or official records. But its inclusion in Ingram's book was a stroke of genius in terms of legend building.
How so?
It elevated the story immensely, tying it to a figure like Andrew Jackson, a war hero, a future president, a national icon, gave the Bell Witch legend incredible weight and credibility.
Made it seem more historically significant.
Exactly. It wasn't just some local spook story anymore. It was something that had baffled and even scared one of America's toughest heroes.
Yeah.
That made the story spread like wildfire and really stick in the popular imagination.
It shows how legends grab onto famous names to gain traction.
A classic element of folklore development.
Okay, so Ingram's book, with the Richard Williams Bell manuscript and the Jackson story, becomes the definitive version. But we have to apply a critical lens, right? How reliable is Ingram's authenticated history?
That's where this skepticism comes in, and it's pretty significant. Modern researchers have raised serious doubts.
Such as?
Well, Brian Dunning, a noted skeptic, points out the most obvious flaw. There's absolutely zero physical evidence that Richard Williams Bell's diary or manuscript ever actually existed.
No proof beyond the claim in Ingram's book.
None. Dunning also highlights the convenience of the timing. All the primary first-hand witnesses to the haunting were dead by the time Ingram started his research in the 1890s.
So no one left to contradict his account.
Precisely. Dunning even goes so far as to suggest Ingram might have fabricated the whole story about the Saturday Evening Post retraction we discussed earlier.
Fabricated the retraction to bolster his defense of Betsy.
That's Dunning's suspicion. It casts serious doubt on Ingram's methods and integrity.
What about other researchers? Joe Nickell, the paranormal investigator?
Nickell also raises red flags. He notes that Ingram's chapter containing the supposed R.W. Bell manuscript includes things like Masonic themes and some anachronisms details that seem out of place for the supposed time period, which impact its credibility.
And Nickell has a theory about Betsy, doesn't he?
Yes, Nickell leans towards the explanation that was suspected even back then, what he calls a poltergeist faking syndrome, meaning that often in these cases, a young person in the household, typically an adolescent girl like Betsy, is consciously or unconsciously causing the disturbances for attention or due to psychological stress.
The ventriloquism idea again, or maybe just trickery?
Could be various forms of trickery. Nickell points out many people who knew Betsy at the time suspected her of faking it.
Any other points of doubt about Ingram?
Jim Brooks, who's from Adams, Tennessee, and has researched the legend extensively, mentions that Bell family descendants later reported Ingram borrowed the supposed manuscript, but never returned it.
That's suspicious. Why wouldn't he return it?
Well, the implication is that keeping it allowed him to potentially alter or embellish the story without the original being available for comparison.
Right. And there are more academic interpretations, too.
Yes, Keith Cartwright offers a more literary and cultural analysis. He sees Ingram's book not necessarily as factual history, but as a reflection of 19th century Southern beliefs and anxieties.
How so?
He argues it's a psychological expression of the lingering shame and trauma surrounding slavery and the forced removal of Native Americans.
Interesting. How does that connect?
Cartwright points out how enslaved people, like Uncle Zeke, whose daughter Ingram interviewed, are often depicted as having special knowledge or insight into the witch. And the witch itself acts as a kind of trickster figure, representing the voice of marginalized groups or repressed historical guilt.
That's a fascinating symbolic reading of the text.
This suggests the story's power might lie less in literal events and more in the cultural and psychological issues it taps into.
So, if we set aside Ingram's potentially flawed account and the purely supernatural explanation, what are some of the more grounded alternative theories people have proposed?
Well, besides the general idea of Betsy faking it, there's one very specific theory focusing on another person entirely.
Who?
Richard Powell.
Richard Powell. Who was he?
He was Betsy Bell's school teacher,
Yeah.
and he was about 11 years older than her.
Okay. What's the theory about him?
The theory suggests Powell might have orchestrated the whole haunting. Rumors persisted that he was deeply in love with Betsy, perhaps obsessively so.
And he had the means.
He was rumored to have knowledge of things like the occult, maybe ventriloquism, even horticulture, which could explain strange gifts like out-of-season fruit.
So he faked the haunting to, what, drive away Joshua Gardner?
That's the idea, to isolate Betsy and get rid of his rival. And the theory gained some traction because after Betsy broke off her engagement to Gardner, she eventually married Richard Powell.
She married the school teacher.
She did. And adding another layer of intrigue, Powell was apparently secretly married to another woman in Nashville at the same time he was courting and marrying Betsy.
Whoa. Okay, that Richard Powell theory adds a whole layer of potential human drama and deception. That's quite compelling.
It is. It offers a very human, albeit dark, motivation for the events.
Is there a more recent, maybe scientific counter-narrative, especially regarding John Bell Sr.'s death?
Yes, there is. Dr. Megan Mann, a chemistry professor, looked at the described symptoms.
John Bell's neurological symptoms, the paralysis, twitches, seizures.
Exactly. Dr. Mann suggests those symptoms are remarkably consistent with chronic heavy metal poisoning, specifically arsenic poisoning.
Arsenic. Was that common back then?
Oh yes. Arsenic was readily available and a commonly used poison in the early 19th century, easy to administer slowly over time.
And the vial, the blue flame.
Dr. Mann points out that arsenic compounds can burn with a blue flame, which perfectly matches the description of the vial exploding in the fireplace.
Wow. So her theory is that someone was deliberately poisoning John Bell.
That's the hypothesis. It wouldn't explain all the phenomena, like the voices or moving objects, unless those were faked or misreported. But it provides a potential scientific explanation for his illness and death.
Who would have poisoned him in this theory?
Hard to say. Could have been someone resentful, maybe someone from the church community where he had disputes, perhaps even one of the enslaved workers seeking revenge, or maybe Powell himself. It opens up possibilities, but doesn't pinpoint a culprit.
It's a very grounded, chilling possibility, though. Arsenic poisoning.
But it certainly offers a rational explanation for some of the most dramatic parts of the story.
Beyond trying to figure out what actually happened, there's another way to look at this whole thing, right? From a historian's perspective on memory.
Absolutely. Amy Fluker, who studies collective memory, makes a really important point.
What's her take?
She argues that whether the hauntings were real in a factual, objective sense is actually less important than the fact that people believe they were real.
Why is the belief more important?
Because those beliefs, what people thought was happening, how they interpreted it, how the story was told and changed over time, offer incredibly valuable insights into the mindset, the fears, the worldview of Americans in the 19th and 20th century.
So the legend itself becomes a historical artifact.
Exactly. It tells us about them, about how they understood the world, spirituality, good versus evil, community, maybe even science and psychology at the time. The story's meaning and its endurance are the real historical data points.
That's a really powerful way to frame it, and the story certainly has endured. It didn't just stop in 1828 or even 1935.
Not at all. It kept going, kept evolving. There were more prophecies, more reported repaims.
Like what?
There was apparently a local prophecy around 1903 that the witch would return on the centennial of the Bell family first arriving in the area.
Did it?
The local newspaper at the time made a point of noting that, nope, nothing happened.
Okay, one misprediction. What about the 1935 return, the one promised 107 years after 1828?
That prediction came largely from Charles Bailey Bell's 1934 book. He was John Bell Jr.'s grandson. a neurologist actually.
Did his book add much?
It recounted stories he apparently heard from his great-aunt Betsy Bell herself, and it reiterated those 1828 predictions, including the big one for 1935.
So did anything happen in 1935? Did the witch return as foretold?
Well, there are no official records or widespread accounts of a specific major return in 1935. Some local sources say it simply didn't happen. Others maintain the witch never truly left the area anyway.
So ambiguous. The legend just keeps adapting.
Exactly. And into the 20th century, you get more modern accounts, new phenomena still being linked to the Bell Witch.
Like what? Are descendants still reporting things?
Some have. Lucy Bell Butler, a descendant, and her daughter claimed in more recent times to have seen the infamous black dog associated with the witch.
The black dog again?
And also seeing a giggling girl who resembled descriptions of Betsy's original encounters.
Wow. And the Bell Witch Cave itself, still a focal point.
Hugely. It's become the key site for the continuing lore and a major tourist attraction. Lots of spooky stories center specifically on the cave.
Can you give some examples, specific incidents from the 20th century?
Sure. Back in 1937, the man who owned the farm with the caves, Louis Garrison, reported hearing unexplained noises there.
Okay.
That same year, a church youth group, the Epworth League, visited the cave. Several of them reported seeing the figure of a woman standing on a cliff above the cave entrance.
A ghostly figure.
That's what they claimed. Their minister tried to explain it away as just moonlight hitting a rock formation.
But
the newspaper article covering it pointedly noted that the moon was barely visible that night, adding to the mystery.
intriguing. What else?
1965, there's a story about an antique rocking chair that once belonged to a Bell descendant named Charlie Willett.
A haunted rocking chair.
Sort of. A customer interested in buying it supposedly heard a voice telling them to look for something valuable nearby.
And they found something.
Yes. They found an old pearl buckle, estimated to be 160 to 200 years old, lying near a black iron kettle, linked somehow to the chair and the witch.
Weird. You mentioned Charlie Willett. There's lore about him too, right? And a Gardner descendant?
Yeah, local lore talks about Charlie Willett and Jerry Cullen Gardner, descendants of the original Bell and Gardner families. They were apparently close but never married.
Why not?
The romantic explanation in the community was that they didn't want to tempt fate, given the witch's curse on the Bell-Gardner union, though a family member later said it was just due to other family obligations. But the legend prefers the cursed love story.
Of course it does. Any really scary cave stories?
Oh, yeah. 1944, a woman named Bonnie Hanline had a terrifying experience. She went into the cave, her lantern blew out twice, plunging her into darkness.
Creepy.
She got out okay, but later learned that law enforcement had captured 2 dangerous escaped fugitives hiding deeper in the cave system. She believed the witch blew out her lantern to warn her, potentially saving her life.
Wow. The witch as a protector that time?
Seems like it, in her interpretation. Then, in 1977, a group of 5 soldiers from nearby Fort Campbell decided to explore the cave.
Military guys. Were they spooked?
One of them was very skeptical. According to the others, as he was voicing his disbelief, an invisible force suddenly grabbed him hard around the chest.
Wrapped him. Physically.
That was their report. Made a believer out of him pretty fast, apparently.
I can imagine. Any journalists try to investigate?
Yep, 1986. 2 journalists, David Gerard and Bill Wilson, decided to spend the night in the cave to document any phenomena.
Brave or foolish? How did it go?
They didn't last the night. They reported hearing unwavering groans, strange thumping sounds, and then a single, loud, high-pitched scream echoing through the cave.
A scream.
That was enough for them. They packed up and left immediately.
Can't blame them. One more. These are great.
Okay, how about 1987? A man named H.C. Sanders told a story about being out near the Bell property when a rabbit started following him.
A rabbit. Like the first apparition.
Exactly. And according to Sanders, after running alongside him for a bit, the rabbit actually spoke to him.
Spoke? What did it say?
It supposedly said, "Hell of a race we had there, wasn't it?"
A talking rabbit commenting on its speed. Okay, the legend clearly lives on in colorful ways.
It absolutely does. It's morphed and adapted, but it hasn't gone away.
So what does this all mean for the Bell Witch today? It's clearly transcended folklore and become a genuine pop culture phenomenon, hasn't it?
No question about it. The influence is huge. Think about the movies.
Right. Obvious connections to things like the Blair Witch Project, maybe an American Haunting, which is directly based on it.
Even the Paranormal Activity series draws on some of the same domestic haunting tropes. You could even argue older films like The Exorcist or newer ones like The Witch touch on similar themes of unseen, malevolent forces invading a family or community.
And TV shows.
Plenty. Ghost Adventures has investigated. There's a dedicated series called Cursed, the Bell Witch. It pops up in paranormal shows all the time.
Music, too.
Oh, yep. There have been cantatas, ballets composed about it. Metal bands like Merciful Fate have songs about Kate. Even country singer Merle Kilgore had a song about the Bell Witch, and numerous stage plays.
So it permeates culture high and low, and Adams, Tennessee, the original location?
It's become ground zero for Bell Witch tourism. The Bell Witch Cave is a major draw. They have annual festivals celebrating the legends.
So the town has embraced it.
Absolutely. It's a huge part of their identity and economy now. It's solidified its place not just in Tennessee history, but in broader American folklore, turning this local terror into a nationwide, even worldwide, point of fascination.
It's truly amazing, isn't it, how a story starting with strange noises on a log cabin in 1817 can echo so strongly today.
It really is. It speaks volumes about the power of mystery and maybe our need for stories that challenge the ordinary.
So wrapping this up then, from those terrifying beginnings back in the 1800s through Ingram's controversial history, the skeptical theories, the potential poisoning, the Bell Witch just remains stubbornly unsolved, doesn't it?
Completely unsolved. You've heard how the story grew, how it got written down, twisted, interpreted, and retold. It captures our imagination precisely because it lacks a neat conclusion.
Right. Whether it was truly a vengeful spirit, or a very elaborate and cruel hoax, or maybe a tragic misunderstanding combined with real illness like poisoning, something undeniably happened.
Something happened back there in Robertson County that sparked this incredible, enduring legend. The evidence, or often the lack of solid evidence, points in so many different directions. No smoking gun, as it were.
So maybe the final question for you, the listener, is this. What does the enduring power of a story like the Bell Witch tell us? Why are we still fascinated by it, despite all the controversies, the lack of proof?
What does that fascination reveal about our own relationship with the unknown, with history, with things that defy easy explanation?
And are there other historical mysteries out there just lurking, waiting for their own deep dive, stories that could shift our perspective if we just looked closer?
Maybe. In the end, the stories that stick with us the most are the ones that don't just entertain, but genuinely force us to question the boundaries of reality itself.